Hi everybody, it's Crystal, and today I wanted to do a TBR on the books I brought with me to Seattle. So my husband and I aren't from Seattle, but we are here for an internship just for the summer, and I have a limited amount of space, so therefore I couldn't bring like a whole bunch of books. I don't really have a large TBR, so technically this is just my physical TBR that I would have here and that would be on my shelf at home, because I don't usually buy books unless I absolutely love them and want to reread them. So without further ado, let's just get started. So the first book that I'm going to talk to you guys about is one that I just finished, and that is The Running Dream by Wendelin Van Draanen. And it's about a girl who is 16. She's 16 years old. Her name is Jessica, and she's a runner, and something happens where she has to get part of her leg removed, and it's just about how she deals with that and how she changes. And then it's also about like her disability, but then it's also about disability in general. And so yeah, if that interests you, go ahead and pick it up. The next book is The Pearl That Broke Its Shell by Nadia Hashimi. And I actually haven't heard of this book. It just interested me because it seemed to be culturally authentic. And what I mean by that is the author is the same ethnicity and lives in the same area that the story is being placed in, and that's something that's really important to me, because then I feel like I'm getting a truly authentic story rather than someone in the US writing about somebody in Afghanistan. And so this book, I know it's has something to do with Afghanistan, and that's all I really know about it. It just really appealed to me. It's kind of a cover buy where it looked very pretty, and it was a time when I would buy books just because I wanted to. Then the next book I have, which is The Princess Academy by Shannon Hale. Technically, this is a friend of mine's book, and I just accidentally held on to it for many years, and now I still have it, and I still haven't read it. I have read another book by Shannon Hale, The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale, and this one came out way before The Goose Girl did, but it's just about a girl that lives in a world where she goes to a school that prepares her to potentially be a princess, and it's really supposed to be very good. I like to go into Shannon Hale books without really knowing too much about it, because she does primarily write middle grade, and with middle grade I like to go in a little bit more blind. So I try to go into middle grade without really knowing too much about them. The next book is The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North, and this follows a man who has the ability to never die. So when he dies, he gets reborn as somebody else, and what he does with that. I actually started this book and I got 100 pages in and just like never really finished it. And this is a book that Peruse Project, Reagan on Peruse Project, talks a lot about, and it seemed really interesting. And so yeah, I'm interested to finish this one up and see what happens. Okay, the next book I have is Revolution by Jennifer Donnelly, and this follows a girl named Andy. I don't know too much about it, except for it's about like ghosts and a little bit creepy. This is a book I bought on Book Outlet right when I first found out about Book Outlet, and it just seemed really interesting. This is also a type of genre that I like. Any type of historical fiction or contemporary, I like to go in a little bit more blind and just knowing the time period and like the main characters' ages before I go into them. This is a reread book for me. This is one of my favorite childhood books. It's called Freak the Mighty by Rodman Philbrick, and it's about the friendship of these two boys. I'm not going to give you too much about it, but it does have a lot of reading aspects in it. It's amazing. And then I have The Storyteller by Jodi Picoult. I've never read any of her books. I've heard about them, and once again, it was on Book Outlet and it was extremely cheap, so I picked it up. This is another one that I started and was just not in the mood and put it down, but I've kept hold of it because I did like the story. I just wasn't in the mood for the certain plot that it was starting. And then I have Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This is one that I definitely need to pick up. It's a little bit intimidating for me because it is such a large series that I tend to read more like standalone books just because they're not as daunting. And so this book, I know I will love it if I get into it, but I'm petrified that I'm going to love it because then I have to commit to reading the rest of the series and then the other spin-off series from this. But obviously it's a fantasy and it's very well known on BookTube. And the last book I have in here is called You Are a Badass: How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Jen Sincero. I've heard about this book. It's nonfiction and it's a self-help book. It was given to me by my best friend who was moving, and she was going to get rid of it, and she asked me if I wanted it, and I was definitely interested. I love self-help books, but I have to be in the right mood for them. So who knows, maybe I'll end up picking this one up this summer. Okay, and so I'm just going to briefly show the rest of the stuff I have in here because I do have some other books, but they're not like notebooks, but not necessarily anything like that I will have to consume. But I thought you may want to see what else I have in here. So this is just a notebook that I made for my husband, and I'm not going to show you anything, but on special occasions I'll write in it, and it's just a way to journal and to kind of show my husband how awesome he is. Then I have just empty journals. This one has some writing in it. I just think it's extremely beautiful. It has like the gold edges that are really pretty. And then this one is an empty lined book that was given to me before I left by some friends in my church, and I just packed it because I always need notebooks. And then I have some just blank, really skinny, thin cardboard books. And then I have some stuff for work, which is just some VB Map stuff. I do behavior therapy. I'm a behavior technician, and so that's just one of the assessments that I have to learn to do once I have my master's in behavior. And then lastly, I have my bullet journal, which I made. I'm going to do another video all about this and how I made it so people know what it's like. That's basically my TBR. Hopefully you saw some that you've read, and if so, leave me a comment down below. Hi guys, it's Crystal, and I just wanted to pop in here and show another book that I forgot to put in the box because it was sitting by my bedside, and that is The Price Guide to the Occult by Leslie Walton. And this is the author that wrote The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender, which is like one of my all-time favorite books. And it's just, I don't know much about it because I just barely started, and if you know me, I don't really like to read synopses. But it is about witches and like witches throughout the generations. So I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm literally only 20 pages in, but I thought I would kind of just stop by and tell you about that book because I forgot about it. Okay, sorry, bye. Bye.